Well, hi everybody, welcome back. Let me just click this. That was a sudden last minute thing. I couldn't find my phone, and you know what happens if you can't find your phone aside from being distracted by everything? You know that in the middle of a video it's going to ring and you'll have to try and find it. Well, it's been a moment. It's been an amazing up and down, back and forth and sideways, grateful, confused, exhausting moment the last few days. And I've been blessed to be invited to be along for the ride. And I have had the opportunity to spend time with some of my favorite people in the whole world in the process and walk alongside someone who's dealing with something tough. And that I was invited is a pretty big deal because it means that my company mattered. And that's a big deal for all of us, don't you think? And the other reason it's big is that we have all been in places where we have felt adrift unexpectedly and needed somebody that we trust, somebody that we can just know that if we put out our hand, they're right there, they're reliable, they're answering us, they're coming with coffee, with whatever, foot massages, whatever it is. It's so valuable, it's so important to realize that these are the kinds of relationships that may not look like a big deal, you know, when you try to describe what it is about it. But I have to tell you, in seeing a couple of people this weekend who have been part of the trajectory of my life for a very long time, and I managed to surprise them. They didn't know we were coming. And so it was a live event. Good morning, Freddie. It's lovely to see you. I'm glad you joined me. So we're at this big event. They're performing, and they're talking to people before the show. And good morning, Charles. Good morning. They're talking to people before the show, and so I just snuck up behind them and stood there. And at one point, they both turned to head to the stage, and I'm there. And they not immediately the look of love, but oh well. So on that note, on a rather gray day and a day I want to talk about silly grins, cheers with a warm beverage to soothe our throat. So the reason Gary and I went to see them is because of the show that I'm creating and the people I'm talking to this week, because I finally found a location and I finally found the right theme. And I think I have the people with the instincts and the talent and the commitment to connection and communication ready to step in with me, behind me. So leading up to this weekend, it was a very powerful and exciting and kind of whirlwind week. And then the weekend, which was magical, we also had a health crisis that we brought to its conclusion that we've been dealing with for several weeks now. And it's hard. It's hard to do it at all. It's hard to realize that the work is done. So last couple of days have been very quiet, very relaxed, very, very calm, very get some sleep, very maybe walk around in your pajamas for a bit, in order to find our equilibrium. I guess that's the right word. And I know it happens to all of us. I know it happens to you, which is why I'm talking about it, which is why I chose this theme today. So let me just do this again. One of the things about being a military brat is you develop this thing every time you see boxes, moving boxes. a little twitchy thing, a little in the throat, kind of a squeezing thing in the pit of your stomach. And another thing you find yourself bracing yourself to do is sifting and sorting through things, because you can't take everything with you. Sifting and sorting through things, sifting and sorting through memories, sifting and sorting through people, and then readying the things that you can take with you, and lovingly setting aside the things that cannot come. So that has been a process recently for the last few weeks. It has an effect on you that is almost not noticeable unless you're familiar with it. And then you can see it, you can feel it, you can almost hear it. It's like, I don't know if you've ever done this, in the midst of getting things ready to cook something, and you turn that smallest back burner on the stove on, even if it's just on low, and then you get busy doing things, and you may or may not use it, but you forget to turn it off. And time goes by, and I don't mean like weeks, I mean that day, that evening, and you're walking past the kitchen, or you're in the kitchen getting something, and you notice that there's a sense that something is warm. And you look around and you can't see it because you're not focusing that it was that. And then suddenly you do see it. And you say to yourself, well, how long has that been on? And you turn it off. And the thing I'm talking about is not the hydro bill. What I'm talking about is the sudden realization when you're in the kitchen on the way to do something else, or you're doing something else, and you suddenly realize there is an other energy. There is a different and separate something that is bringing heat to this space. And you think, what is that? What is that? And you haven't noticed it, but now you do. And I don't do it all the time, but I'm not that inept, but every time I do it, I pause for a minute and I say to myself, this is a lot like looking at a very familiar situation that you've seen 1,000 times and suddenly realizing that it's something not quite the same. It happened to me, many, many years ago. We used to go to Florida every winter. My dad said, if I'm on vacation, I'm not shoveling snow. So we would go to Florida for a month. And he would pull me out of school, and we would take my books, and I'd do my homework so I didn't get left behind. And we would just live. He would rent us an apartment. We would just live like people who live there for 30 days. And it allowed him to completely relax, right? It allowed him to completely shift gears out of his everyday. We were there long enough, doing normal things long enough, often enough, that it gave him a complete reset. And I never appreciated the value of that until I had actually done it myself. And I thought, you were a smart guy, Daddy. Thank you. So we came back from one of these. And we were living in an apartment. We came home, we unpacked. Oh, good. Oh, God. Oh, God. And my mother was unpacking the first set of bags that my dad brought in. So it was a 3-bedroom apartment, their bedroom, my bedroom, and a spare. So she was unpacking the spare. And she took stuff to the bedroom and screamed. And my dad had not gone down for another load. And he came, what is it? And the bed had been stripped. They had a king-size bed. The bed had been stripped. The comforter, the cover, was still there. The pillows were there. The king-size sheets were missing, which is a really freaky thing to wonder what the hell. And then my dad said, hang on. And he walked back out in the living room and he said, we've been robbed. Television was gone. Stereo was gone. Some fairly rare crystal glasses were gone. he went to a cupboard where he kept all of our real valuables, and they weren't touched because it was the last likely place you'd look. But in the bedroom, the jewelry box, my mom, they had sorted through stuff, and they'd taken a couple of things that were semi-valuable. My room, it didn't look like anything had been touched. But it was really unsettling. It was really unpleasant because once we knew they had been there, everything felt different. Everything felt slightly soiled, slightly sullied by these people who had chosen to come into our home and do whatever they were doing. And my dad looked everywhere, and they hadn't done anything disgusting. They hadn't, defecated. They hadn't done anything awful. They hadn't wet toilet paper and left it out. Like, they didn't do anything that was just childish nastiness, which is fortunate, because a lot of these situations, you find that there has been, stuff written on walls and all kinds of things. And we were living in a very nice apartment, but it never felt the same after that. We didn't feel comfortable there. And as it turned out, we were back for a few days, and we suddenly got the notice that a chap who was going to go overseas had had a heart attack, and he could not go. So we were my dad was next up. So we had barely had time to sift and sort our immediates. And then the Air Force movers were in, and everything was packed and organized. And we went and got our shots. We were so busy doing our last minute stuff that we forgot. Or at least, if we didn't forget it, what we did was it went away from the immediate consciousness and the immediate feeling of violated, right? I was getting ready to go through all my stuff to make sure that I had with me the things I would need immediately, because normally when they transfer a military family, they try to transfer you during a holiday like the summer or Easter, so that you have time to reorient yourself. But this was a fast one. So I knew that I was going to have school projects to complete the minute I got over there. So I just reached behind my bedroom door I had a portable typewriter thing, and it wasn't there. And I did the same thing my mother had done, and I called my dad, and he came in and he said, all right, don't let the movers in your bedroom. We need to do a check. We need to do, because he had a list of all the stuff. And so he checked off that was missing, along with all the other stuff that they'd gone through. But the packers were about ready to destroy all of that. So we found a few more things of mine that were school related that were gone, that I wouldn't have noticed until the next time I needed them, right? Because they're just put aside. So what happens to us, three things, I think. What happens to us when our normal is upended. And the first one is that we feel slightly like we're not standing on solid ground. We have that first panic clutching thing, because we're late to the party, but we're still reacting to being attacked. We feel that somebody has breached our defenses in a way that we never normally allow. I mean, we can be lazy about policing our boundaries, but this is big. And I'm not talking about a physical attack. I'm not talking about somebody doing something that damages us personally in any way. It's an emotional thing, and it's a connection thing, a safety thing, right? But disorienting. Now, fortunately, by that time, I had already moved more than anybody. It was normal to go and get our shots. It was normal to go and do this. It was normal to go to that. It was normal to go to school and get all the lesson plans to be able to, overseas. And I had just done this lesson plan thing from the holidays. So a lot of our stuff was still kind of kept together, but not all of it. So in the going to all these places, taking things out of safety deposit boxes, going to the bank, seeing the mortgage people because we had another house, going to school, getting all the lesson plans, emptying my locker, saying goodbye to people, realizing that all the things I was going to do, again, are not going to happen here. Resetting the clothes that I'm going to be needing, every single thing that is a normal checklist is now sitting on top of this unsettling, after the fact, uncertainty and feeling of betrayal, right? The hardest thing to do in a time like this is find the button that pulls us out of the grimness and the businessness of it. Getting ourselves ready, reset, plan, goodbye, check this off, do all that. Fortunately good at it. Thank God not the first time. My dad had to sell the car for it. Like, just so much stuff. So last minute. Usually you get a month's notice. We had a week. In and out of my bedroom, in and out of my parents' room, in and out of the other places in the living room where stuff had been taken. Every so often, I would walk by it and out of the corner of my eye, realize I was looking at the spot where something had been, something we had placed there, something that we had treasured, and it's gone. And it's never coming back. And it's not weep worthy. It's not like losing a precious soul. I'm not ready. I wasn't ready. I needed to be ready. Why wasn't I ready? Is a litany that goes into and around and dances back and forth in and out of all of our thoughts. We don't sleep well. We have a lot to think about, which is another reason why we don't sleep well, but we don't sleep well because we're carrying that. We're carrying that betrayal. And the thing is, we later discovered that it was a couple of people who had recently moved into the building, and they were very likable, and everybody had befriended them. We hadn't known them long. However, they had seemed so nice. And in the process of visiting and getting to know us, they had sussed out the place, and they had seen to themselves, we'll get this and that, and oh, look, king size bed, we can use the sheets, because they can walk out with stuff in sheets, and it just looks like they're taking the laundry downstairs, which is exactly what they did, apparently, because people saw them. Wow, big cleanup. Yeah, we had a party. You know, what are you doing? And so that went on for days because they were systematically cleaning out apartments. They knew people weren't home. And then they made their escape. I don't remember if they got caught. The thing I'm leaning into today is that we can't go through our lives planning what we're going to do when someone betrays us. We can't go through our lives being ready for grief. We can't go about our day bringing in 100% of ourselves to the moment that everyone is looking forward to. Everybody has planned to be there with you. We can't allow ourselves to be distracted by the other. And it's not because we're callous. It's not because we're cold. It's not because we don't have the capacity to do more than one thing almost simultaneously. It's that when we make a commitment to be present 100%, that's what we're there to do. That's what we're there to be, not only for the people who have an expectation, but for us. When we make a commitment and we say, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it at this time and in this way and at this place, and I'm wearing that, and you're doing this. It's not that it's written in stone and we can't alter it on the fly when something goes a little off, because the universe loves to pull that stunt. I wonder what happens when we do that. oh, and there you are. And can you in fact tap dance your way through it in a believable way that allows you still to remain on top? And the answer is, well, of course. That's what rehearsals are for. That's what the connection to our co-conspirators is for. To be able to trust each other and laughingly say, you know, if this were to ever happen, I'm going to do that. Brian Sano, my friend Brian, if you're watching this, I'm about to bring up the story that will go down through time. So my great longtime friend Brian, who eventually became a teacher, and but has always been an actor, was in a school play with me in college, and he was to enter on one side, cross in front of everything, and exit on the other. And it was a satire about people in history, and he was supposed to be King George, who thought he had learned French and didn't know the difference, and he was to walk on stage saying "Donnez-moi un toasted ham sandwich," and just leave, and it was just a throwaway, right? And almost every night he said, you know, one of these times I'm going to do it. I'm going to straight arm that door on the other side, and they will have locked it, and I will dislocate my shoulder, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I said, Brian, now that you've mentioned it, the back of your brain will think of something. Sure enough, he strides across the stage, says, "Donnez-moi un toasted ham sandwich," straight arms the door, and nothing happens. And he looks at the audience and says, "Never mind, make it a pizza." Turns around and walks the other way. And the audience didn't know it wasn't in the script. It was that good. Everybody on stage knew it wasn't in the script. And then we, because we didn't know that he was going to do that, had to figure out a way to not crack up. Because then as soon as we did that, the audience would know that there was a problem. And the idea is that try to never let them know that the ship is sinking. So in those moments after, and I have reminded him of it endlessly. It's just one of those lovely, lovely code shared things that really close friends have, right? It is the very quality of those code shared things that has the power to lift us out and spin us round and give us our selves back, no matter what. And I pretty much mean no matter what. No matter what, in the midst of something quite horrific. Is it tasteless? No. If it's timely, it's just macabre. Quite often, what that does is it snaps us out of our shock. It snaps us out of our fear, sorrow, angst, rage, frustration, confusion. And it refocuses us, sharply refocuses us on the origin of that coded expression, that coded moment. We reconnect completely 100% with the person who said it, and we are immediately back in the moment, the last moment it happened and the first moment it happened. We are there. We're only there for a split second. But it is like the Pavlov dog thing. Ring the bell, salivate. And it is so far back, buried in our subconscious, that this part of our brain can't preempt it and can't predict it. And that's the thing I want to talk about today. Because life is busy every day. Things are happening every day. Even on a slow day, things are going on. Sometimes, in the midst of many things coming together in a kind of synchronized swimmer's nightmare, in a beautiful, equally beautiful synchronicity. Thank you, universe. Where it's like a kaleidoscope of dreams imagined coming true, all of a piece. Something can happen. Something can come along. Somebody can say or do something. A situation can emerge. that if we had not been busy, if we had been standing back, reflecting on the things we know, the people we know, the situations that we have experienced, we would be able to say, that is not unexpected. A moment like that, a decision like that, an action like that, an outcome like that, that is not entirely unexpected. History and patterns repeat themselves. If we had that quiet space to observe, assess, compare, and reflect, we would say, ah, there it is again. And if we had nothing invested in any aspect of it, we could merely observe that patterns, in fact, predict future behavior. Past patterns predict future behavior, which is why pattern profiling is such a valuable tool. And certainly for a military brat like me, I have done as much work as is humanly possible to learn pattern profiling, to learn to see and then observe and predict, so that I am not running behind the events as they unfold. I'm actually ahead of them, waiting for them to arrive. Now, I'm not good at it. I'm not as good at it when it's directed to me, when it is very close to me, in some way triggered by or driven by someone also very close to me, because we don't see the people close to us clearly anymore. We don't see how we used to see them. We see them through the filters of all of the events that have happened. And we forget the outlying bits. We forget the jarring edges, or we forgive them in advance. That's just not important. In the big overall scheme of things, not important. When the sanctity of our apartment, which was one of those things that we predicted, the pattern that you get in the door this way, you park this way, there's this lovely warm smell because the people in that apartment are always baking bread, it seems, no matter the hour of the day. Everything about it was warm and comforting and familiar. And we had been away for a month. We had a lovely place. It was a great time. We drove down and we drove back. So our transition wasn't airplane back home. We had the 2 days. And the drive itself was familiar. We say, oh, look at the building going up there. Did you notice that on the way down? No, it's almost done. Must be one of those prefab. That kind of easy, like sleepy chickens in the nest, right? In just sort of quietly before they go to sleep. That kind of thing. And we had come home quite confident that everything was going to be, oh, I can't wait to get into bed. And the next thing you know, we were up all night with the police. And my mother didn't want to sleep in the bed. She didn't want to sleep in the apartment ever again. She was very happy to just not unpack her suitcase and we go to a hotel, which is what we did. We prolonged getting home and unpacking, but we couldn't for long because the next day we got the call, right, that we were moving, so you had to go back. All of it then being so new and so different that we didn't have an opportunity to mourn the loss of our comfort zone familiars. We didn't have the opportunity to stop what we were doing and really see what was unfolding before us and feel the deep sadness that what we thought was ours for a while had been snatched away. And there was a lot of sadness, there was a lot of regret, There was a lot of nostalgia, but we had to manage it quickly because we had stuff to do and we didn't have time. The military waits for no man, woman, or child, or animal of whatever shape and size. As Charles says, the world never stops. We're never really ready for grief. We're never ready. And I don't know whether it's we're not ready for grief, Charles, because we know what grief is and we've experienced it before. I think we're never really ready for its arrival. We're not ready for the suddenness that it wasn't there and suddenly in a blink, it's there fully formed 100%. I think that if we could see it coming, if we could see it evolving, we would get used to it slowly in steps. But when it's a sudden recognition. So we had a very, very busy June, July, August. Some of the busiest months and consecutive in a long time. Recently, I've had that kind of busy in the aftermath of the loss of my dear friend, with the back and forthing and the packing and the moving and the legal and the financial and the funeral and the neighbors and the red tape and the packing and moving and finding a space and unpacking and not knowing and starting again. Dizzying. And every so often, a need to just sit down someplace soft and just sigh. Not because of loss, but because of exhaustion with it all. And what forms around us, and this is, I'm finally, after 30 minutes, getting to the point of the talk today. Just as we suddenly realize that the back burner of the stove is on, we suddenly realize that everything around us, everything, every sensation, everything we're looking at is a kind of grim shade of gray. It's not a dark gray, it's not a light gray, it's just grim. And it's hard to find the button, the giggle, the lighthearted, childlike delight that pulls us out of those things, that elevates us, that resets our balance, makes sure that we're on an even keel. Because physics, balance in all things. If it's dark, it's going to be light. If it's happy, it's going to be sad. And it's not that it's going to be one or the other. I always talk about door number 3. We live in these arcs, these endless arcs that go from the lowest to the highest, and every shade and every flavor and every sensation in between. That is our normal. But when we somehow get caught up in an unrelenting moment, our wheels are spinning in some mud or on ice and we can't get traction and we can't move on. The survival tactic that I use, that I haven't talked about for a long time, and I think that's why I want to do it today, because not only what has been happening, but that conversation is long overdue, cheers, is how we find our silly grin. All right, hang on a second. When I'm having a tough time, I go and I look up a Minions movie trailer. I know you're going to go, what is wrong with her? And what I do is I watch these very bright, cheerfully yellow, miniature sociopaths delighting in every misaligned, dramatically wrong, inappropriate adventure. They are sublimely happy. They're only briefly confused. They're confused for but a moment until a light dawns and they have an even worse idea than that one. And they carry on. And they don't look back. They're too busy having a hell of a good time. And when I watch that, when I watch them, I am unable to feel sad. It yoinks me out. And I will replay that 2-minute or 90-second clip. I will replay that half a dozen times until I have re-topped up my tanks of positivity. Whether it's dopamine or serotonin, I don't know what it is, kind of don't care. What I do know that it isn't is cortisol. What I do know is that I have reset my focus where it is purposeful, where I feel good about me. I feel proud of me. I look around my office that has deliberately been decorated to have its moments of shots of color that give me that moment. And I do it because I have hit bottom so many times, but fleetingly. Because in the midst of everything about the military having a drawback in that we're never anywhere for very long, we're also we're never anywhere for very long. We may not be anywhere that we love. We're also not anywhere that we're sad. We're not allowed to stay stuck. We're not allowed, as my father used to say, to stall, to wallow, to focus on unhelpful things that don't accomplish anything. You know, the thing about grief, the thing about mourning the loss. Yes, mourn the loss. However, mourn the loss in a way that serves a purpose. What we need in a time of shock and grief and disbelief and loss, what we need more than anything, and Charles, you can back me up on this, what we need more than anything is a way to see, to understand that this moment we are in is giving us something of priceless value that we will now treasure in a way that we have never given ourselves time to do. We take each other, we take everything we love for granted, not because we don't care anymore, not because we think ho hum, but because life is busy. And when we are suddenly face to face with something that has changed in our reality, whether they are gone for good or gone away, whether something has happened that has changed the fabric of the way it used to be, it is our job to find the value in that becomes our next strength, our next superpower in living fully, in remembering to cherish what we have when we have it. Not to stay stuck in the past. It's over. We bookmarked it. Now we bring those qualities, those aha moments, those understandings of the size, the scope, the depth, the beauty of our passion and compassion. We bring those with us because those are gifts we were reminded of, that we have had from the moment that journey began. That journey, that way that we journeyed has ended. It doesn't mean that we don't bring those memory, those qualities, those lessons with us to enrich our lives moving forward. Now, June, July, August, very complicated. All by themselves, very complicated. In the middle of that, and probably because of how complicated they were, a lot of toxic behaviors, a lot of unnecessarily toxic behaviors, a lot of pointed, unnecessarily negative, counterproductive, mean, selfish behaviors that probably gravitated to us because everything was upside down and sideways and toxic. And it said, oh, look, there's a place we can park. We'll be among friends there. And it just became this layered pastry, this millefeuille, 1,000 layers of what the hell. Yes, the minions definitely cheer me up, Freddie. And so, good morning, Matthew. Good morning. It's so nice to see and hear from you. How are things on a scale of 1 to 10, Matthew? How's it going? I haven't seen your face, your voice, your name in a while. What happened to us, my small collective, was unsettling, was frustrating, was exhausting, was infuriating. And then glimmers of aha, triumphant. Glimmers of take that. Glimmers of I'm walking here. Glimmers of what, did you bump your head this morning? What the hell is wrong with you? And as soon as those qualities come back to my depleted tanks, I've got my minion, my inner minion back. And I'm going to be okay. And I can also infect my nearest and dearest with that same energy. Vikings invented it. So in the midst of everything going well, and then going sideways, and then going well, and then going upside down for a minute, and then falling flat on its nose and just lying there, and then going well again, I had an experience I didn't expect. In hindsight, I should have. But I was a little busy, you know? And when I realized what I was observing, I thought, wow, that's awful. That's so inappropriate, so stupid, and so counterproductive. Because now, in amidst all the other stuff that has layered itself, I have to borrow energy, I have to borrow focus, I have to borrow time to compensate for that. And part of me was furious. Part of me was getting up, getting ready to say what was on my mind. And then the clever part of my brain said, they don't deserve it. And a very wise friend of mine said, don't give it any oxygen. And another brilliant, brilliant friend said, we have more important things to do. And I said, yes, we do. And the first thing on the top of the list is go and find a Minions trailer and watch that for a couple of minutes. Why? To get my essential me back. You know, it was really beautiful, really very, I gotta say, we drove out into the middle of nowhere for ages on dirt roads in the dark to get to this place, to see these people perform, these people that I have loved and enjoyed and commiserated with and waved my arms in the air at for a very long time. And when I saw them setting up, before they saw me, I saw that they were carrying some kind of baggage with them that they hadn't quite figured out how to put away just yet. And I said, see that? I'm going to talk to them about that, not tonight. And What am I looking at? I said, look at the energy, look at the faces. Look at the energy, look at the faces. What do you see? And he said, oh, yeah, okay. So as they got ready to do their performance, and they looked at each other across the stage, as they have done for years and years and years and years and years, they looked at each other across the stage. And if you knew what you were looking at, you saw them go click all at the same time. Nobody said, and a 1 and a 2. All at the same time, they got in sync. They got into the moment. It was their Milo moment. It was the essence of Pivotry in motion, observed in real time, if you knew what you were looking at. And then the individual in the group who does most of the speaking turned around and said, 1, 2, 3, ho, and it started. But before, when they went, ho, they were already at that spot. The minute they looked at each other and it went click, you could see the gray gone. You could see the bright, powerful light on. And you could see the silliness twinkle in everybody's eyes. Not silliness to the point of I'm not going to be brilliant as a professional. Not silliness to the point where I don't know what I'm doing. Silliness in the mischief that is the luxury lotion that keeps everything going brilliantly, smoothly, fabulously. And their performance was just brilliant for everyone that night who had to endure those back roads, all under construction, far too much gravel, everybody's sobbing about the paint job on their vehicles, knowing they were going to have to retrace their steps on that road going home in the dark. And you know what? The minute they looked at each other and the entire energy in the room shifted all at once, none of that existed. It was gone. And so in that 2 hours plus was every vestige of every difficult, negative, toxic, selfish, stupid thing that we all had endured for the past some time. Gone like that. Magic. And you know who is capable of it? People. All people are capable of it. We're born with it. It is our default instinct. It sets us apart from so many other creatures. We have the capacity to step up. We have the capacity to say, I don't think so, and own it. We have the capacity. The thing is, most of us don't know it. Most of us do it spontaneously without realizing that it's a thing. We're already in it before we know it. This part of our brain doesn't have time to say, I think I'm going to be amused now. We just are. We're standing all by ourselves, not feeling great, just staring at a room full of people we don't know. Suddenly, we hear a voice behind us, a voice we know, a voice we absolutely love because we absolutely love the person whose voice it is. And our whole being changes. From just kind of vaguely grim, it's suddenly our birthday. And maybe there's a pony. And it happens in a blink. We do that. We hear that trigger and we become that outcome. We do it. All of us do it. The thing is, I know how it happens. I learned it, and then I studied it, and I practiced it as a survival tactic from my earliest recollection. People say, oh God, there she goes again. No, I'm fixing something. You're just lucky to be along for the ride. When something makes me laugh really hard because it surprises me, I'm allowing myself to go there. Why? Because the laughter is a healing thing. And I drink in that energy. I pour it back into me. Because when I stop laughing, no matter how serious the conversation has been and will be, I have been restored. And I can have that conversation with more ownership of who I am and what I bring. I am no longer held hostage to the Grims. I got my me back. And part of my entire drive and purpose and passion for Pivotry in motion and the lion effect and the Milo moment is based on the underlying belief, the underlying promise. And that is, there is a way back from broken. We do all the time, every day. We find the way to heal. We are chameleons in the truest sense of the word. We don't fake turning purple. We reflect, we mirror the energy that is around us. The difference is, while other creatures, other animals, other species automatically reflect exactly the emotion, the mood, the energy, the temperature, the action, the swirling, we have the capacity to choose what to mirror, what to match, what to rise above in order to own the moment, in order to take what is surrounding us and make it serve our purpose, leverage its energy. And I use this story all the time. When a tsunami is coming and you live in a village, a small village, basic village, and the tsunami is coming because you can see it, you have three choices. You can run screaming, you can lie down and just wait to die, or you can grab your surfboard and paddle out. Paddle out as fast as you can. Paddle out before the wave has reached its momentum. Paddle out around the end of it if you can. Paddle out as hard as you can, over what is beginning, in behind it, and keep paddling. And it's going to get bigger and it's going to move faster. And you have to paddle as fast as you can to stay right behind the cresting wave, right behind the momentum, right behind it, but in it, but with it. Because when it breaks, if you are in the right place, if you have chosen the place of power, the exact position you need to be, that wave will carry you to the place you're meant to be. That is physics. Those three options are physics. We get to choose. We have the capacity to choose. We have the ability to choose. And with me, with our team, with Gary, with our trainers, with our speakers, we want to show you how we learned, how we discovered, how we practiced, how we polished, what our trigger tools are. The group that I'm forming around us is a team of people who have been there, done that, won the trophy. Some of us are fairly famous for it. Some of us have the scars to prove it. Some of us are quietly behind the scenes movers and shakers. Every single one of us, without fail, has been in the middle of a commitment they made to bring something to fruition with a lot of people, a lot of energy, a lot of hearts and minds and souls counting on them, have in that moment been blindsided, hit a wall, fell down, and found a way. Every one of us found a way to get back up and put that event, that experience, that recognition in a safe place to deal with another day. Every single one of us has had the world yoinked out from underneath us, and we have hit the ground hard, as hard as you can imagine. And what we are going to be building, what we are going to be doing, what you are going to just love the experience of, because I didn't know all of these details last week, the last time I talked to you, but now it's coming into focus. We are going to make you laugh hard. We are going to make you say, oh my God, my face hurts. This is amazing. And then we are going to flip the tables, allow you to see how we pulled that off, give you that behind the scenes experience to say, no. And we're going, yep. And then while we're all in it together, talking about sometimes it isn't quite as easy as it looks. And one of us will tell a little story. Not a long story, but something so familiar that one of you will say, oh my God, that happened to me, or that happened to my dad, or oh my God, my best friend. And someone else will say, right? And they will tell their story. Not the whole story, but just that enough. My brother, my sister, my friend, and someone else will say, you remember that time? Did you ever see this? Did you see that happen on camera? So what was really going on was that no. And what that's going to do, what I want you to understand, what is so important is that this, good morning, Mr. Bailey. What that is going to create, is already creating, is a unique and powerful, connected tribe of people of all walks of life, all ages and shapes and sizes, who have all been there, done that. Don't wear the t-shirt because it makes you look awful. And now we all know we're in it together. And now when we get together, we can say, oh my gosh, remember blah, blah, blah. And now we have our memory codes. We build and connect and reinforce the moments that make us laugh till we cry. Oh my God, the look on their face. I thought I was going to die. We are going to create that with each other, for each other. When I have 2 meetings this week to get hard details, and then it's just going to be all over the map what I'm talking about. When I get the firm details, you are going to see the brightest light you have ever seen at the end of your various tunnels. You are going to see that you, individually and together with me, own the keys. And we can unlock the mischief and the magic and the togetherness and the healing. We can be there for each other. We can reinforce the resources we need to ride this, because this never stops. Even when an ocean is calm, it's still moving. It's just not seasick moving. Molecules are constantly in motion, which is why the concept is called Pivotry in motion. It's not Pivotry standing still while everybody's at the library. Everything is in a state of flow. With our team, with our speakers, with our coaches, with our celebrities, with our ordinary everydays. Because you know that celebrity is just kind of a coating, right? You know, like when I can't figure out how to make something in the kitchen, I'm not a celebrity chef. I'm Abby wondering why I'm even allowed to do this. You know that, right? You know that. So this is what I want you to do. I've given you the stories, and I've given you the outline of the tools for you. This is not homework. This is just like a brief calisthenic for you. When we're done today, grab a weapon of mass construction and write down the silly thing that makes you grin, that makes you go tee hee. If it makes you laugh out loud, that's great. I'm only looking for the silly grin. Write down what that trigger is. Write it on a Post-it note. Stick that Post-it note all over the place. If it just says Minions, if it says Boston cream pie, and no one but you knows why, doesn't matter. Socks, whatever. Write it down. Why? Because you deserve it. You deserve to remember to remind yourself that no matter how the Grims feel grim, you have the trigger. You hold the key to bring back your positive energy. I know you do. It's how we're made. It's what we are. All right? I want you to promise you to do this as soon as we're done. Do it. You deserve it, and your loved ones deserve it too. Which brings me to the way I always end these. The world is up and down. People will come and go. Scenarios will change. There will be happy and there will be sad and there will be things in between. And when people we thought we knew reveal their true colors, we can say it was great while it lasted and walk away, because we're good at that too. All right? So that's it for now. It's going to be a very busy week. Lots going on. Some of it is still hard, difficult, and yet cherished and important, because it is a legacy experience. And we all deserve to have those in our lives. So thank you for watching. All the platforms, all the new people, all the people that you say, see, I told you need to watch this. One last thing before I go. The Fox 13 interview with me got postponed. I didn't have a chance to come in and let you know. It got postponed because there are news cycles that are really exploding practically every minute down there. And so Eric said, be sure to tell people that it's not forgotten. It didn't get buried. It is going to happen. And after it has aired, I'm going to have permission to have the link that I can share with all of you, so you can watch it anytime you want, as often as you want. Okay? So that's not gone and forgotten. With that said, thank you for watching. Catch you next time.